Hello chess friends and welcome to your of Chess channel and welcome back to the FIDE World Cup in 2023 that's going on now in Azerbaijan in Baku. So we have reached now the crucial moment of this super event. The stakes are really high now because under this current rules of the FIDE World Cup, the best 3 players out of this event will play in the forthcoming in the next FIDE candidates in 2024 and will have maybe the opportunity even to battle for the World Chess Championship throne. But a very specific thing happened today. Magnus Carlsen won his quarterfinal match against Gukic, and Magnus Carlsen mentioned that he refuses to play in the forthcoming candidates in 2024 under the current circumstances, which gives now other players immediately the opportunity to get into the candidates if they move up into the semifinals of the FIDE World Cup today, which is really crazy. As I said, the best 3 players are playing for sure, but as I said, Magnus refuses to play. So even if Magnus now wins, for instance, the FIDE World Cup 2023, he'll not play. So the next 3 players, of course, from the semifinals will then play in the candidates 2023. Really crazy stuff, but this is simple as that. This is how Magnus is feeling now about chess. He doesn't want to play the candidates, which is of course his decision. We should respect it, but as I said, now other players have great opportunities, among them also these 2 beautiful players that played a spectacular game today. We have here the battle, the Indian derby between Arjun Erigaisi and Praggnanandhaa. So it means also that India will have for sure 1 player in the candidates 2024, which is really crazy. Unfortunately for India also, Vidit Santosh Gurasi lost his game today. But India is really the biggest chess country, as I said, so maybe they can qualify in different ways. Also, Gukic lost his game today, played a draw but lost the match against Magnus Carlsen. He had simply the toughest opponent. Gukic can maybe also get into the candidates, maybe in different ways, maybe in some other tournaments. So let's see now this Indian derby, Arjun Erigaisi versus Ramesh Babu Praggnanandhaa. Yesterday, Arjun won his game with the black pieces against Pragg, which was really crazy, which meant also that Pragg has to now win his game with the black pieces in order to force additional rapid games, in order maybe even to force maybe an Armageddon game. So let's see now what happened. Pay good attention. These 2 guys played really spectacular chess in the quarterfinals of the FIDE World Cup 2023. So with the white pieces, Arjun opened with the move e4. Pragg's response was c5, the Sicilian. We have c3, the Alapin, preparing of course d4, hitting the center. Knight to f6, in my opinion, also the best way. Immediately battle for the center, battle against his pawn on e4, forcing a reaction of White here in the center of the board. White has the tempo against the knight, but White exposed himself. Now basically what White in this Alapin variation is trying to do is to connect these 2 pawns and keep them flexible. Now when you force him to play the move e5, the structure is not so firm. This pawn becomes in many options also a vulnerable piece for White. Black will simply coordinate the attack around the square. e5 will simply try to attack now this pawn in the further continuation of the opening. So knight to f3, protecting, knight to c6, attacking now the pawn on e5, d4, connecting now the pawns in the center, c takes d, c takes d, d6. You see, still it's a battle for the e5 square. White never, I think, wants to take out now this pawn on d6 because it leads now into this isolated pawn structures. It is playable. I'm not saying you will lose the game because you played with the white pieces this line, but this is not the optimal way to play. So after move d6 here, Arjun simply develops bishop to c4, hits the knight, knight to b6, bishop to b5, hitting the knight on c6 now, keeping still this tension around the square e5 that we have mentioned in the beginning of the opening stage. So you see, it's basically becoming now really an dangerous and really dynamic battle here around the square e5, but also with the spin against the knight on c6. Bishop to d7. Here Pragg protects his knight on c6, knight to c3, d takes e, d takes e. Okay, here Pragg simplified the game a little bit by trading off the pawns. Okay, this is not an isolated pawn, but it's still a vulnerable pawn that can be attacked, of course, by further activities by black. In the game, we have g6, further development, again, hitting the pawn on e5. We have kingside castling, bishop to g7, queen to e2, protecting, of course, the pawn on e5. Kingside castling, h3, very important move by Arjun, not allowing to get pinned here with the move bishop to g4. If that happens, then there is huge pressure against the pawn on e5. The knight would be then pinned here by the move bishop to g4, so that's why very nice prophylactic move here by Arjun. Bishop to e6. This move is to further control of the d5 square, because here Pragg is trying, of course, to get the queen on c7. This is a standard maneuver in Sicilians, but also, of course, in other openings. The main goal is, of course, to connect your rooks to then finish your development and have then a good formation then to go beautifully into the game. Rook to d1, hitting the queen, queen to c7. Now bishop to f4. Again, you see, it's still a battle for the e5 square. Rook from a to d8, rook from a to c1, knight to d5. Here, Pragg simplifies the game enough. Good choice here. Knight to d5, bishop to d5, and now after move knight to d4, we have still sort of battle here around the square c6. Here Pragg gets out of the c-file attack. We have knight takes c6, we have b takes c6, kicking away the bishop, bishop to c4, and now after bishop to c4, queen to c4, now we have rook to d1, rook takes d1, and now notice both players have traded off now many pieces and are left with basically two weaknesses in the position. When we watch black's pawn structure, obviously c6 and a7 are weaknesses, which are isolated pawns. On the other hand, I would also mention b2 is for sure a weakness in white's position, and also the pawn on e5, which can be also then further attacked, as I said, by black's attack. So in the game, queen to b2. Here Pragg accepts the chance. He says, okay, I take now a pawn, show me what you got. We have e6 by Arjun, very interesting idea. We have queen to f6, good move by Pragg, getting out of this mess, getting the queen back into the defense. Bishop to e3, queen to e6. After queen takes e6, f takes e6, now Arjun simply takes, bishop takes a7, and now after rook to a8, rook to d7. Let's stop and evaluate now this particular position. Okay, black is up a pawn, but black has many structural weaknesses. Black has all of these pawns that are vulnerable, and also we should mention that this pawn is a beautiful passer, and not only it's a beautiful passer, it's a distant pass pawn which can be promoted on a light square. Also very important to say here, because the dark square bishop maybe can cover the a7 square, but never really the a8 square. So already the a7 square is taken by the dark square bishop. So basically what Arjun is trying now to simply let his pawn roll and have a good chance maybe with his a pawn. So on the other hand, also the c6 is weak, so it becomes now a really spectacular game, as I said, in which black has this extra pawn, which is doubled and which is a weakness. Here there is maybe a 4 versus 3 pawn majority in black's favor, but it's very tough, also very hard to create some kind of a passer here. So it's really an unbalanced endgame. Let's see now what happened. It was, in my opinion, really beautiful, but also thematic, very nice endgame that you could maybe be useful in your home preparation when you are maybe studying some important patterns in chess endgames. So after move rook to d7, we have king to f7, getting the king closer, protecting everything. And now Arjun makes already a tiny little inaccuracy. He pushes the pawn immediately, a4. And many of us, I think, would play this move. Many of us would immediately let the pawn roll, but actually you have to activate further pieces. Maybe king to f1 is one option, getting simply the king closer. It's also a very important idea in chess games. But here, for instance, also bishop to c5 is an opportunity. And now you see that this was the only chance where Arjun had the opportunity to play the move bishop to c5. Later, it wasn't a possibility anymore. Now, if you don't react, if you play something like bishop to f6, then maybe we can play bishop to a3, connecting everything, and then we can play free with our rook. Now, for instance, if you play rook takes a2, then we can hit the pawn on e7. You have to step back. Now we attack the pawn on c6, and we are also threatening the move bishop to d4. You can maybe try the rook to c2, but now look at this. Bishop to d4, e5, and now we deflect the king from the defense of the bishop, and now the material would be equal. Maybe also here playable game for both sides, as I said. In my opinion, this should end with a draw for sure. In top GM level, and of course these are top grandmasters, this should probably end with a draw. But here Arjun Erigaisi rushed it here with move a4. You see now why. Now bishop to e5 was played by Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa. Now this whole concept with bishop to c5 in order to hit the pawn on e7 is not working, because now after rook to a4 you can maybe try this one, but now look at this, king to f6, and you don't have any more this maneuver that we have seen previously. You cannot play here the move rook to c7. If you play something like rook takes h7 here, then it's not working. Look at this, rook to a1 is immediately checkmate. You could maybe try also to compete here with rook to a7, but now after a couple of trades of rooks, this is game over, I think, here for white. Black has this extra pawn on the c file, and you see, in my opinion, this would be good continuation for Arjun for sure. So see, after move bishop to e5, you don't have any more the chance to play bishop to c5. Previously it worked, now it doesn't work anymore. It's simply not an opportunity anymore for Arjun. So Arjun had to search for different opportunities. Now finally he started to play with the king, but it's a little bit too slow. Bishop to d6, the rook is a little bit locked out here also, which will be also very important for the continuation of this endgame. After bishop to d6, king to e2, now e5, liberating a clear path for black's king. Black can have access now to the e6, d5, f5 score, so black's king can be now very active in this potential endgame. So king to d3, king to e6, rook to b7, king to d5, the king gets closer, and now suddenly this whole 4 versus 3 situation on the king side makes sense. And also we should mention black kept the c pawn, which is now really unbalanced position. So in my opinion, this becomes now a one-way ticket here in Prague's favors. This is simply now a much better continuation here for black. So f3 played by Arjun. We have the c5, a5, rook to f8. We have a6, rook to a8, and now king to c3. And even if you play something like h4 here in order maybe to stop some kind of a progress here, then black simply keeps it slow here. h6 will eventually maybe play, if possible, in some lines e4, then maybe again e5, e4. So also c4 is an opportunity. So black has here many great chances to win this endgame. After move rook to a8, we have king to c3, we have g5, king to d3, h5, and now e4. Here king to c3, e4. That's the move that Prague wanted to play anyway. He undoubles now his pawns, which is good for him. Of course, after f takes e4, king to e4, now Prague has 2 pass pawns, and this is now, in my opinion, completely winning here. Also, another problem in white's position is that the rook is a little bit locked here, and also it's stuck always to the defense of the bishop on h7. It's paralyzed simply. Here in the game, king to c4 was played by Arjun. He's trying to get the pawn on c5, but it's simply not working. Here Prague played a beautiful move, king to f4. If you play, let's see, bishop to c5, this is not working. Look at this, bishop to c5, king to c5, we take out this one, okay, you take out also this one, but your king is simply far away from the action. Now we simply play h4. You're trying maybe to get the king somehow into the game, but now we deliver a check and the king is out of game. Even if you start maybe to play here king to d5 in order to prevent some checks, then we simply get the rook on the second rank. This pawn will be taken again. The king is far away from the action, so game over here for white. So after move king to f4, that's why king to b5. So Arjun sensed that he could not, of course, take out the pawn on c5. We have h4. Prague simply pushed the pawn further. Rook to d7, king to g3, bishop to b6. Even if you play, for instance, king to c6, it doesn't work. Look at this. We simply take out again this pawn. You play simply this one. Now we get the rook behind. Even if you start to push the pawns, the problem is now after g4 and maybe something like rook to d8, you take also bishop to d8, and now we take out the pawn. You start eventually also to push your pawn here on the a file, but black is simply fast enough, has also the promotion now with these 3 extra pawns. Again, white is simply winning. So you see also this concept with king to c6 is not working. So that's why bishop to b6 played by Arjun. We have c4, very nice deflection motif here by Prague, not allowing here the king to play actively. We have bishop to c7. Here we have bishop to c7, and here there was a funny thing. Instead of this move c4 that Prague played, which is also a beautiful move, there was even a wilder idea to play here maybe the beautiful move rook takes a6. Look at this, really wild stuff. Of course, this is just a top stockfish engine that I'm showing you here, but look at this. Rook to a6 is actually winning here. You play king takes a6, and now we pick up this pawn. You're trying, of course, to get the rook behind, but now we take another pawn. We let this pawn roll here. In order to get the bishop into the game, you have to now trade it off here on c5, but these two pawns here on the king side are again simply winning the game for black. With these two extra pawns, the game is over for white. Very, very wild stuff. So as I said, c4 was Prague's move, but rook to a6 would have been probably a beautiful endgame technique for sure. After move c4, bishop to c7, as we said, bishop takes, rook takes, and now king takes g2. Again, nothing is working here. Prague simply takes too much material, and also this whole idea maybe to play rook to g5 to deflect the rook here somehow from the 8th rank is not working, because rook to g5 comes with the check, and this is not working. So that's why Arjun has to lose another tempo with the king, and now Prague simply pushed the pawn further. He tried this way, but now Prague also promotes here the queen on g1 and has, like in the previous line that we have seen, 3 extra pawns, which is of course completely winning. Arjun tried to battle. Of course, he cannot trade off the queens. If that happens, then it's again a completely winning game for black. The only way is to force somehow a perpetual to somehow deliver perpetual checks, but now after queen to e1, the queen gets again beautiful into the game. Again, the king gets closer. We simply here deliver a couple of checks, and now after a couple more moves here, Prague again try to simplify the game by trading off the queens. Of course, Arjun is delivering more checks, but now after a couple more checks, no good checks were possible. Here, of course, beautiful move by Prague. If you take, of course, then we have this situation that we have talked about. We're forcing a trade of queens, and then this pawn is simply winning the game here for black. So after move king to a6 was played, we have queen to d3 hitting the queen. We have king to a7, queen to d2, and now after a couple more checks here again, Prague wants to trade off the queens. It's not working. Here new check, and now after move promotion here on c1 in this particular position, Arjun Erigaisi resigned, which means now this is becoming very an epic battle. Prague gets back into this game, gets back into the match today. He equalized the result in a wild position, which means now also we'll see more games tomorrow between the two of them. It's really a spectacular battle, and as I said in the beginning, the stakes are really high. I think probably both of them want to play in the beautiful candidates in 2024. As I said, also India has secured one spot already in the candidates for sure, but this is really a beautiful opportunity for both of them. I would love to see both of them in the candidates in 2024, but you see the chess community is really spectacular. They're playing really amazing, brilliant chess. So for instance, amazing player like Gukesh maybe will not play in the candidates because he had to play today against Magnus Carlsen. In any other circumstances, I think Gukesh would reach the semifinals for sure, but it didn't work today for him. But as I said, an Indian player will play in the candidates 2024 for sure. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really interesting ideas in the Alapin Sicilian. If you want to see more games from this chess event, check out our coverage so far. Here are some links of some games that we have analyzed before. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.